Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. This is manifesting your reality. Before I get into it, just want to mention Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel on Patreon, you can do so. When you become a supporter, you get advanced episodes on Sunday, a library of downloaded episodes for your podcast app, numerous ways to communicate with me through a Patreon, direct mail, through a chat. So if you're interested, there is a link in the description. Next up, private lessons. I keep getting these non-solicited, I swear, thank you letters from some students. I'll just read one really quickly from Juan V. He says, I hope you're doing well. Just wanted to let you know that the tip of getting away from my physical body as soon as possible is working really well. By following your advice, I had a successful projection the next afternoon after the class and today as well. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much, Juan. So, believe them. Don't believe me. So, if you're interested in getting a private lesson, all you have to do is go down to the description, and there's an email there. Just ask for more information about astral projection class. Okay, let's get into it. Now, when we're talking about manifesting reality, this question came from Vosaga. Now, I didn't ask to project this past week. It happens, okay? I have some dry spells too at times, but I'm never worried for what I'm going to do because I know that I'm going to manifest. Someone of you amazing Astral Club folks are going to ask me a question, and it's going to give me an idea I need to put together an interesting episode. So Vasaga sent me his question. He wanted to know what my belief system was about manifesting one's own reality. Now, normally when we talk about manifesting reality, we usually spend a lot of time discussing the ethereal or magical quality of the topic. I mean, you can do anything from magic luck rings on eBay to joining an evangelical Christian prayer group. I know the Christians theorize that the more folks praying for a particular topic, the better the chance that the OG upstairs will come up with the cash, luxury cars, what have you. Now, metaphysical folks usually do things a little bit differently. They tend to meditate on visualizing their desired reality, trying to bring it manifest by that process. However, today I'm going to address something simpler, a more grounded method that I think we all can understand. I'm going to use, if you'll indulge me, several stories from my childhood that my parents taught me, and I'd like to share those lessons with you. I'll start with this topic, the story that my mother told me from the 1970s. She was the HR director for a department store. Now, at that point, unemployment was low, and they were desperate for workers. I mean, desperate. An application basically meant a job offer. Keep in mind, they were paying minimum wage, so that didn't make things any easier. Her assistant was out at lunch, and a man entered the HR office. My mom asked if she could help him. He said, and I quote, "You ain't got no jobs, do ya?" My mom looked at him and replied, "No, we don't." And he turned around and left. I am positive that he returned home thinking that there were just no jobs to be had. Now think about that for a second. This man could have easily been hired that day, but his world outlook was so negative that he starved in the midst of plenty. He expected to find no jobs were available. And he manifested that reality for himself. When you ask someone a question that solicits a negative response, don't be surprised when you get that negative response. When I used to teach sales classes, I would often tell this story to help train new salespeople. And what this guy should have said would have been, "Hi, could you tell me what jobs you currently have available?" You see the subtle difference between the two different questions? I mean, it also helps that I'm more grammatical than he was, but that's not the reason he didn't get the job. No, if he had, that's a positive statement I just made, because you are assuming, you're manifesting your reality. You are assuming that there are jobs available. You would just like this person, my mother, to explain them to you so that you could evaluate whether, they might be a good match for your skill set. Slightly different question, but it would have manifested a dramatically different reality. I think you'll find that our own outlooks on life will open or close doors for us all. If we expect to succeed, we will generally find a way to do so. And those around us will feel compelled to help us, because who doesn't like to be around a positive person? Because you feed off of their positivity and they feed off of yours. Of course, on the other side, if you're a negative person, you like to surround yourself with other negative people and you feed on one another's negativity. Now, likewise, if we expect to fail, chances are we'll manifest that reality as well, just like that quote-unquote job seeker manifested his reality in this particular case. Now, the next story comes via my father, and I was about 8 years old at the time, and I went fishing with my father. Now, of course, I loved spending time with my father. I was the oldest of three, and whenever you have multiple kids, there's always a little bit of competition for parental attention, right? And I really enjoyed spending time with my father, and we would go to movies, Clint Eastwood movies, for instance, and fishing, and some other activities as well. But this morning we went to this nice lake, and we got there. And my father cast his line out into this lake from the shore. We'd gotten there around 6 a.m. because early morning, for everybody who fishes, that's one of the best times to fish, because that's when the fish tend to be biting. And also around dusk, they tend to bite around there too. Now, a few minutes later, a gentleman arrived, and he posted up around 15 feet, or about 4.5 meters for our metric friends, away from us. Now, hours went by, and various baits were tried by both my dad and this other dude. But there wasn't so much as a single bite, much less landing any fish. Our lake neighbor periodically huffed and puffed, and I heard him cursing his luck under his breath. My dad ignored the man and continued to fish. Finally, at noon, my dad asked if I was hungry. Now, I knew that if I was quiet and a good son, that he'd probably take me to McDonald's or whatever for lunch. And sure enough, we did end up going. But so, he asked me, if I was hungry. I replied yes, and he reeled his line in. The peeved man, who was near us, he decided to also reel his line in too. However, he started loudly cursing the lake and his bad luck. He left in a huff, hurling his fishing equipment into his tackle box and storming off to his old Ford truck. After watching him speed off, his wheels squealing out of the parking lot, I asked my dad why he didn't seem angry. In fact, he had this big smile on his face. He replied, "Rick, we had a great morning. The sun was out, the weather is beautiful, there's a lovely breeze, and we got to enjoy it all by this scenic lake." But I retorted, "But we didn't catch any fish." And my father laughed again, saying, "That's why they call it fishing and not catching." That's an old fishing chestnut. But to my 8-year-old self, I thought my dad invented it, and I was just wow, that's a cool saying. So here we had two men who experienced the very same objective reality, standing there by that lake with their fishing line in the water, getting absolutely no play from the lake's fish. My father's attitude allowed him to take pleasure in the day, while our angry friend's negative viewpoint made him feel that he'd wasted his whole morning. Now think about that. I bet you we all, in one form or another, can find ourselves in that story, either in my dad's place or in the angry gentleman's place. We are so focused nowadays on being productive. Every minute must be productive. If it's not making you money, you're wasting your time. And in that process, we are ignoring the magic beauty that is all around us. Sure, we all need money to survive. But if your only focus, your only goal is to accumulate wealth or accumulate goods, when that doesn't happen, you get frustrated, you get angry, the whole day was a waste. And if you just looked at it another way, you'd see that it was perhaps preparation for a future productive day. Or you were able to rest, get a day's rest from the rat race that we all seem to be running around the track for. If we are grateful for each day that we are given, knowing that none of us is guaranteed the next day. If we can be grateful for the little things, then how much happier will we be when the big things do come? And I assure you, they will. So that's my little soliloquy there. And I hope the stories you found of interest. They meant a lot to me when I was growing up, and they taught me some important lessons. If you liked that episode, please share it with those who you think will benefit from it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and please leave your questions and comments. Do you have some stories maybe you heard from your parents that taught you a lesson, or that you yourself learned a lesson about this type of negative versus positive thinking, and how it helped you, or how you overcame something that you perceived as negative when you looked at it in a different way? I'd love to read it, and I'm sure other Astral Club members would as well. At any rate, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.